Brought to you by Hallow, the world's #1 prayer app.
We focus so much on the major seasons in life that we can like blink our eyes and miss the micro seasons that separate them. And I think it's in the space between.
Yep.
Is some of the best stuff.
All of the stuff. That's right.
And so we're living in a little Airbnb. We're on top of one another. We have 5 suitcases worth of stuff. I'm on the road half the time. I've never felt so connected to my kids and to my wife. And it's like life-giving.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, when you're writing or just creating, if stuff in your house isn't filling you up, you eventually, like the well runs dry.
Oh, yeah. I've fallen off that cliff a few times.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And like, for the last 6 months, I like would sit down to write or just go into like a brainstorming session with my team. And I wasn't like, it felt hard. And it's never felt hard before. And now it feels easy again.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing in the world.
But how do you do friendships, new friendships, in an ecosystem where pretty much everyone only just wants something from you? That's been my hardest transition. Is I still got the same friends that I've had. We lived in the dorm together, right?
Yeah.
And we made bad decisions together, and now we're all old, right? You got those guys.
Yeah.
I found it incredibly challenging to make new friends. Either you start segmenting away with like everybody wants something from this whole table, so nobody like, and that always feels weird. I remember leaving an event one night, and our kids were there, and everyone's kids were there, and my wife said, "Everyone at that home had a PhD or a JD. That's not the real world." I remember saying that, and I'm being like, "Oh yeah," like, but I still don't know how to do.
Well, but so here we were talking about like performative on either side of it. I think I look at friendship as being the same in a way. So I have, similar to your guys, I have like 5, 6 really, really good friends.
Oh, day one, zeros. Yeah.
From kindergarten through college.
That's it, yeah.
And because I'm the guy that throws the party, they're all best friends with each other now. Like my best friend, this guy Andy, I went to kindergarten with. And my crew from college. They're all very, very close. They all live in New York. And there was a season where I saw other people becoming successful as I was becoming successful and watching them trade up friendships.
Yeah.
You know, where they weren't friends with their people anymore. And then they were like friends with the next most. And then again, and they didn't have any friends that they'd known for more than 3 or 4 years.
I think that's dangerous, man.
But so that is definitely dangerous and whatever, performative.
Sure.
But I found myself almost reacting to that and saying, I don't need any new friends. I have my friends. I don't need anyone else in my life.
Yeah.
And that was almost performative in the other direction. Performative's not the right word.
No, it is. It because I have no things in common with those guys.
Yeah.
0 things other than our parents lived in the same street when we were all
shared
born.
history.
Nothing else, right? And so, yeah, it is, for me, it's performative.
But as you grow, if the friendships around you don't evolve a little bit, not that you shed all of your friends, invariably you do end up shedding some friends. But if you're not picking up new ones along the way, I just don't think you're limiting your ability to grow as much as I think we ought to be.
I think you're 1,000% right there.
But to your point, like, how do I figure out friendship in this season? I'm a little more guarded.
Yeah.
But I think, like, you know, one thing I think we've all stopped doing is trusting our guts. Like,
but everyone's told us our guts are wrong about health, about marriage, about love, about finance. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a book about everything, and so everyone tries to like raise their children based on a book they've read, or be a good husband based on a book they've read. And by the way, I'm not like anti-reading.
Or a terrible podcaster, for God, right? But yes, exactly.
But I think sometimes you just need to listen to your gut, knowing that it's going to be wrong a good chunk of the time, but you can't let that question the extent to which you trust the feeling you have inside of you. And so, yeah, more guarded with friendships. But if I feel a connection to someone, then I want to pursue it.
Yes.
One of the things I do, I obviously I talk about hospitality all the time. Mm-hmm. I like to redefine that word often.
Okay.
Because I think the better you are at articulating an idea, the better you become at compelling those around you to embrace it.
Yes.
One of my favorite definitions of hospitality is to be creative and intentional in pursuit of relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's your customers. Mm-hmm. It's a business book, ultimately the one that I wrote. It's the people that you work with. It's a leadership book. But I think it extends, that's not what the book is about, but to your life. Mm-hmm. Like you need to pursue the people in that picture. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you're not pursuing new relationships to see whether there are people out there that you're meant to know as you grow into the next version of yourself. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I've been like, oh man, I have this feeling like this guy I just met, like we're meant to be friends. And then I pursue them. I'm like, oh, we're not meant to be
Coke
friends.
Guy. He's a weed guy. No, well, it's funny because the things I wrote down to talk about today was, I think for me, and I tend to look everything through a emotional health or relationship lens. I think you wrote the best parenting marriage book that I've read in the past decade, probably. With Unreasonable Hospitality. And we'll get to kind of dig it, pull it apart. But I kept thinking as I worked through that, my gosh, dude, this is the best marriage book ever, right?
Thank you, man.
But it's very not popular. And it's very, in a strange way, countercultural. And it's similar to how you described the restaurant culture, as what you were doing just didn't make a lot of sense on paper, even though you could prove it on a spreadsheet, and even though I can prove it with morale, it just doesn't make sense because we don't do it that way.
Yeah,
it's not the air people are breathing. Very similar. There's some really heavy countercultural overlap between your book and marriage. But I want to go back to a moment. So you don't know this, I don't think. I don't think I've ever told you this. But you specifically, in a single interaction, transformed how I do my work in a way that, so I'm a private guy, and I'm also, shocking, I'm pretty introverted, right? I run out of gas.
Yeah.
And so, but I do love being on stage. That's my favorite thing, is speaking on stage. This whole exchange is still odd, just because I love having deep private conversations, and the thought of someone ever recording me sends me into
the fact that we're having this intimate moment together,
right.
But it's not intimate at all.
Right. The thing that I lived and died by at all these events, right? So you and I, you speak all over the place, me too, and you end up on backstage with people, just like, how am I here, right?
Yes.
There's that guy over there, and there's Jalen over here, and those are just surreal moments we all have, right? So the thing that kept me from not spooling off was the speaker scores. I always went to, okay, who won, right? And there's always audience surveys and things like that. I was always like, who won? Who's doing better? How's this person doing? How's this person doing? I need to get in my room and have this little bubble, right?
Yeah.
So the night that we first met, there was a dinner, and it was me and you and Jade Simmons and Jocko and Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And we're having dinner.
Yes.
And by the time it's over, Jocko was full Jocko and Dave was full Dave. And Jade was her and I were both from Houston, so there's a little bit. But you came in and the whole table lit up. And by the end, this is going to shock, Jocko was reciting Shakespeare. And it was a whole thing. So then we left, right? And if you're going to go in front of 3,000 people and tell them something they don't know about business, you have to have some sort of courage or ego, whatever you want to call it. I have to think, I'm worth X dollars to tell you guys something, right?
Yeah.
So I come down the next morning, and it is Jade, followed by me, followed by you, then Jocko. And I get down there, and you're the first one down there. And I was like, what are you doing? You don't speak for 3 hours. And I'll never forget you said, I'm here to watch you. I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, dude, I'm here to watch you. And when I got off stage, you and Jade were the first people to greet me off stage. Backstage, big hug. I don't know you, man. We just had dinner. But I remember thinking, oh, that's how this is. There is a grace and a giving and a hello and no, we had a great dinner, and it was different than just a regular dinner. We laughed and told Shakespeare next to a Navy. So it was kind of fun. But you can lay around in your room and act dramatic for 3 hours, or you can go celebrate people. And Will, since that day, I remember thinking, that's how this is done.
Dude.
It's over. And so every event I've done since then has been modeling. I want to make sure I'm the last guy that sees somebody I don't care how famous you are or how not famous you are. You're going to make sure I saw you, and I am so grateful that I get to be here with you, and I'll be the first person you get to see when you get off. Backstage, nobody in the audience sees this stuff. But that's Will Guidara. So thank you for bringing that to my life.
Cool,
it was just this lifting up. It was pretty amazing. So thank you for that.
Man, and the added benefit is you're going to learn a few things along the way.
Well, I was scared of it. I think I was scared about what was coming, right?
Well, by the way, the reason not to do it
is Jade Simmons.
You crushed that day.
But Jade Simmons goes at heavy. You're like, oh, I'm going to go home, right?
So,
gosh.
That was also like one of the first really big ones I did. I've done a ton of these talks since that one, but that was one of the first really big ones I did. And I go down there and I'm trying to pursue this craft because it's a craft like anything you do. You're hosting a podcast. This is a craft.
That's
You're
right.
a student of it now. And anyone who does anything, if they're not a student of that thing the entire time they're doing it, they're never going to be as good as they ultimately could one day be.
100%. Yeah.
And the moment you start speaking, that's now something you need to start studying and pursuing too. And so I was nervous going into that first day. And so I went to watch everyone to understand, okay, what are we working with? 2, to learn a few things. 3, because I felt very close to everyone from the night before. Right. And to my point before, these are now relationships I want to pursue.
Download the Hallow app today and get 3 free months at hallow.com/Delony.